Welcome back, boys and girls. No, with my content, it's adults. Welcome back, adults. That's like super inappropriate with the type of content I have. Anyways, Dr. Leslie here. Let's do a recap. It's been a few days. A lot of shit and nightmares have happened in this world. So we're going to go through some celebrities, some political drama, propaganda, misinformation, the US government, and the world. But first, we need to talk about how I looked snatched on court TV. This morning at 4 a.m., it's around 8 o'clock now. I am so tired that the puffiness in my eyes has just come back. Like it left for a little bit today. And then I don't know, any night cream recommendations? I'm just gonna have the skin cut off my face by my plastic surgeon because she thinks that's the best way. And I agree. So whatever, I'll take recommendations. So anyways, I was on court TV at 4 in the morning because Julie, it goes live at like 8, I don't know, in New York. There's a lot of preparation. You have to make sure your TV is functioning. Your computer, see, that's how tired I am. I had to reboot it. So then I was pushed to another 15-minute slot. But we got it done before the kids got out of bed and before they were banging on my door that they wanted breakfast and to change and do their hair and get ready for school because they're so excited about school still. So speaking of kids, basically I was on court TV because a 6-year-old brought a gun to school and shot his teacher. Abby Zwerner. I can never pronounce her name. She appears to be a wonderful, loving human being, and I cannot believe what she has been through. So the topic of this conversation on court TV was that this 6-year-old is not normal. Okay. This is not normal for a 6-year-old to do. He has a pattern that mimics an adult psychopath. Now, you're not going to call a child a psychopath. You won't even call an adult a psychopath. It's not a DSM-5 diagnosis. No one's going to ensure the treatment of a psychopath. Maybe they will someday. But for now, we can't. So what we can do is we can look at the behaviors present in a child who does such a horrible thing. And so that's what I talked about on court TV. And you should watch the episode. It was only like 15 minutes. I threw it up on YouTube somewhere around here. It might get taken down because it's, well, what is it? Plagiarism? I don't know, stealing content, whatever. So basically, this kid, he has a history of chasing his peers, lifting the skirt of a little girl and touching her. He tried to strangle a teacher when he was 5. Continuous aggression. He has shown no remorse. He smashed his teacher's phone and shattered the front of it. He tried to choke a teacher out at 5 years old. I'm sorry. What? So the school, and I don't know how they came to this decision, which I think is completely idiotic, said that the mom had to be present with the kid while he went to school. So he was still allowed to go to school, putting all of your boys and girls in complete harm's way. First of all, he should not have been allowed at school. Second of all, what mother is going to come watch him that's allowed all of this behavior to continue anyways? And then get this, whose gun does he use? Whose gun does he use to shoot the teacher? His mother's. What a wonderful behavior plan, Virginia. What a wonderful plan you have put together in your fucking state. Are you fucking serious? Horrific. So Abby gets shot after the vice principal is aware, but then takes a lunch and doesn't do anything. And oh, they don't want to search the backpack of the kid because he doesn't want them to. A 6-year-old. Yeah, fuck that. I'm searching the fucking backpack if 2 other students say that there is a literal gun that this kid brought in. And then they just talk about, oh, well, it's not going to fit in his pocket because he has small pockets. Okay, yeah, it was a tiny 9mm. Yeah, it would fit in his pocket. Indeed, it did. Yeah. Why does he have access to it? Why is it loaded? Why does he know how to take the safe off? Why does the mom not know that the gun is gone and the child has taken it to school? And why does he have the wherewithal to aim and fire and want to harm a teacher? So the mom got 21 months in prison. I think she's probably out around now because this was 2023. But now the teacher is suing for $40 million in civil litigation against the vice principal, against the Newport district, the whole school. And then after this case, we move on to criminal charges against the vice principal and I believe others. This hits close to home because of 1, my line of work, and 2, my kids. And this is not a normal child. And when I tell you that, I mean that the brain structures are probably not normal in this child. Shout out to two main brain structures. The amygdala. The amygdala is your fight or flight. It's your emotion. It's how you feel things. When you get like startled, it's because your amygdala feel something and it gives you that surge of hormones and those emotions, and then you act. You know if you're going to fight, flight, or freeze. That's kind of more of our woke terminology we're adding to this now. So that's fucked up in this child. And what does that mean? There's no moral reasoning. What if you don't feel anything, then who the fuck cares? You're callous, you're remorse, you don't care. What's going to stop you from doing whatever you want to get whatever you want? What's going to stop you from taking someone's life because they reprimanded you? Well, why not? She shouldn't be here. Let's just end it. Yeah, in a 6-year-old. Now let's talk about the ventral medial prefrontal cortex. Now that is where we process rewards. Now, what's the best way to get a kid to do something? A 6-year-old? A reward chart. You offer them rewards. Now, this kid likely has a small or underactive ventral medial prefrontal cortex. And I say that because those are the two things we see on functional MRIs in children, adolescents, and adults when they are psychopaths. And you can't cure a psychopath, right? All you can do is introduce consequences. But children at the age of 6, 1, they can't be called psychopaths, and 2, they don't respond to consequences, they respond to rewards. So what the fuck do you do with a child like this? Clearly, they were trying to make some attempts, but their attempts were subpar and horrifying. I also have no notation of any kind of clinical skills that were given to this child, and that's something I talked about on Court TV. I'm going to list 4 for you. Inventory of callous unemotional traits, where we're going to look for, I'll give you a list. Childhood psychopathy scale. So the inventory, you can use at age 3 or 4. Childhood psychopathy scale around the age of 8. Antisocial process screening around the age of 6, terminating around 13. Psychopathy checklist youth version, ages 12 to 18, and then you use the actual psychopath test by hair. So what are we looking for? We're looking for lack of empathy. Boom, that kid had it. We're looking for shallow emotions. Boom, that kid had it. Indifference to others. No guilt or concern when they hurt someone. When he shot her, she said that he had a blank, dull looking expression on his face. Lying and manipulation. Well, that seems to be happening. Thrill seeking, limited emotional depth, narcissism. I wonder what that was like in that child. I don't have notation of that, but I'll look into that. Impulsivity, definitely. I mean, he tried to strangle a teacher. He tried to strangle a 5-year-old as a teacher. A 5-year-old trying to strangle a teacher. I can't even imagine what the anger that I can't even imagine what's going on in that brain and then in that home environment for that to happen. And we look for callousness. So we look for all of these characteristics in children. And what happens is that we kind of see like this is a child prone to aggression, a child that could be dangerous, and a child that we need to severely bring in. We need to build walls around this child until we can figure out if we can treat them, how we treat them, how we teach them, how we model things. Was this genetic? Is it genetic? Is it their brain? Is it environment? There's so much to know. And the fact that things kept going on with this child and he was still allowed in school around your babies, like my own baby. If I were a parent in that school, I would be fucking suing that goddamn school for letting that child be around my fucking child. I don't care. That was so grossly inappropriate. I think that Newport district in Virginia could have a fucking class action lawsuit for the decisions made around that child. What I also mentioned on Court TV was that we need to look out for oppositional defiant disorder, conduct disorder, ADHD. They all play into a reactive attachment disorder. It all plays into a disruption of normal functioning and growth in a healthy adult. And they're highly linked to antisocial personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, which I've mentioned before. When you see those two diagnoses in a prison or in a state psychiatric facility, then immediately you think the person is a psychopath. Because those two diagnoses basically describe everything that we have on the PCLR, the psychopathy inventory. But again, it's not something we can diagnose because it's not in the DSM-5 yet, but it will be. So anyways, that was my morning at 4 a.m., which is why I am exhausted right now. But I wanted to catch up with all of you because there is so much propaganda and misinformation, and the red versus blue in America is crazy. And then the extremists on both sides is crazy. Like Tucker Carlson interviewed Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes has been banned. His name is banned. You can even say his name on TikTok or Instagram. He has such I don't know if he's a left. It comes to a point where there's no extreme left or right, and they merge around and they just become fucking diabolical stupidity of pointless human beings. But Nick Fuentes is one of those individuals. But now it seems like he's kind of being handed the throne of Charlie Kirk. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, and a lot of other people are saying it too. So then what was Charlie Kirk? Because he was kind of lending towards Nick Fuentes. If you know these names at all, God, you need to plan a vacation because this shit gets deep and it gets dark. Erica Kirk memes, oh my God, they have been cracking me up. The way that she ran her fingers through JD Vance's hair, and then he basically denounced his wife's religion and wanted her to then become his religion. Yet Erica Kirk at her own husband's memorial is wearing pleather pants and massive gold rings, and the whole thing just isn't giving like great PR. And you'd think if anything had great PR, it would be the fucking White House. It would be the fucking American government, not Blake Lively or Justin Baldoni, not Angelina Jolie or Brad Pitt. It would be the fucking administration. But they have their heads so far up each other's asses that they're not even thinking about how it looks because they don't care. They don't care that the people who voted for them are literally starving and that food stamps may be reinstated, but it's going to take a couple weeks. So just starve until then. Yeah, don't you need food and water within a couple weeks so you don't die? But Trump wants to build a ballroom and he had a Halloween party and he let them eat cake. And I'm sure his people in the administration thought that was funny and that was ironic. Didn't Haley Bieber or someone got canceled? Haley Bailey got canceled for that costume, but Trump's not. And, he did have, I don't know, young girls without any clothes on, sitting in martini glasses, dancing at this. So what the living fuck is going on? Run the fucking government. To me, it really does seem like all he is doing is making sure that he is setting up a trust fund and a life for his family. Now, I don't agree with all of these blue points. I do think that there are a lot of hidden agendas in the Democratic view, a lot of hidden agendas in this government shutdown. But at the end of the day, it is hurting the people, and the people in politics should have the bandwidth, intelligence, and wherewithal to sit down and at least offer temporary concessions to each other. And the fact that they're not doing that and people are being harmed now, people are starving now, is fucking appalling to me. And I don't care if you are Gavin Newsom. I don't care if you are Massey. I don't care if you're this hottie taking over the clubs in New York. I don't care who you are. This started because Trump doesn't want the Epstein files to be released. And now this is turning into an agenda for people to dig their heels in to pass legislation that will last a long time and no one will be able to change it on both sides. And that to me sounds utterly fucking ridiculous, selfish, psychopathic, narcissistic. And it shows you exactly what politics is. It's people in authority who love power, who love themselves, who love those close to them, and are so sincerely detached from humanity and the reality of the world. Yeah, I said it. There you go. There hasn't been a lot of celebrity news. I mean, I think the Blake Lively stuff has really been going on with basically Baldoni's lawsuit was over from the beginning because it was always fake. He sues for $400 million. It's completely retaliation against the New York Times and retaliation against Blake Lively for suing for sexual harassment and the smear campaign and whatnot. But at the end of the day, what's covering all of the news outlets is that he missed the deadline to appeal. And everybody wants to say that it's false news, it's false information, because they want to read these tiny little lines in all of these complaints and all of the stuff uploaded to the docket. And honestly, you can't read one line of this and interpret it without understanding the larger picture and the players and the goal, the theme, the plan of each legal team. So I really think it's just utterly pointless when people are like, oh, I saw 3 numbers on a page and this is what it means to me. No, it's nice. Sure, you want to grow your TikTok accounts. That's fine. Grow them. But the bigger picture is that nobody really has any fucking idea the full legal strategies of these teams. What has been apparent is that everything that Justin Baldoni's team, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, and Brian Friedman, who is being sued right now, The lawyer. The lawyer is being sued. What is apparent is that they keep losing. They keep losing, and they're given the opportunity to say, hey, that wasn't a loss and this is how, but they're not taking it. And it's because they're not telling the truth. It's because they actually were bad guys. They tormented the women on that movie set. They tormented men on that movie set. They were childish monsters, and they sexually harassed Blake Lively and other women who we will see as trial comes out, federal trial in March. Hopefully it doesn't get moved. But at the end of the day, like, maybe if you stand back and you see a federal judge is not biased, what he has been presented with is a bunch of bullshit from them. And what stands are Blake Lively's claims that she has been the victim in this. Sorry, guys, that's just simply the fucking evidence that has standed and lasted as we've made it all the way to October. It's been almost a fucking year. Legal news, Jake Harrow got 25 to life for offing his tiny baby and lying about it repeatedly. And oh, he cried. He had tears during court. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm sure those tears were 100% for himself and not for his baby, because he didn't really seem to give two shits about his baby. So, yeah. Psychopaths can turn on tears when they want to. You know, maybe he's a psychopath, maybe he's not. Maybe he's just trying to remember, when I saw somebody cry, what did they do? When I got hurt once and tears came out, what did I feel? Let me get it out. I'll squeeze it out. Maybe that's what happened. Or maybe he actually felt like, oh, I'm actually going to get in trouble for taking the life of an infant. Yeah. He's another one, guys. Track him. Jake Harrow. If he ever gets out. Hopefully he doesn't get out. And hopefully everybody inside those prisons knows exactly what the fuck he did. But don't forget, everybody, that you're always being manipulated by the media and what you see. So we don't know the full context of that legal case. We do know that he got that sentence, and a real judge, a real life judge, gave him that. So that's probably not manipulation. Oh my gosh, side note, I don't know if this is world news, celebrity news, but yeah, the World Series. So I don't really follow sports a lot. My husband is completely obsessed, but I did see the last game of the World Series, and I have to say the Dodgers played that like a poker game. I thought it was actually incredible. As somebody born in Toronto, I secretly hoped for Toronto. They just seem like better people. Canadians in general seem like better people than Americans, and especially people who are around the Dodgers. And granted, I've been to many Dodgers games and I have felt thoroughly unsafe. And I have really, really questioned why you have to walk so fucking far just to get to the game. It's not that great. But wow, I could not believe the end. And I love that the guy, like the two guys who like went to catch one of the balls at the end, you know, I thought one was concussed and just fell flaccidly to the ground, but it was literal emotional disappointment because he thought he had lost the World Series. And his buddy was like, no, I caught it. And he was like, oh God, yay, I can run again. But the fact that they calculated that the slightly overweight guy was on third base and that they could outthrow him and that they would just give a bunch of balls to the player before. Yep, this is how I'm going to describe it to you. Knowing that the next guy that was going to like bat the ball was probably better, but that he could throw it in a certain way that it would actually lead him to have a ground ball where they could actually throw it to the home base to make sure that the kind of chubby guy wouldn't get home and win the World Series. Yeah, that's my California girl recap for you, but that was pretty awesome. At least that's what my husband kind of explained to me while we were watching it. Tell me how I did. But the government is still shut down. Yeah, people are starving. Elections are tomorrow. I'm curious how Prop 50 will go in California. I voted yes for Prop 50. And that wasn't a political affiliation. It was because I don't think Trump is a politician. I don't think this is a Republican, a Democratic issue. This is a Trump issue. And if Prop 50 passes and it gives people more power to press against a man who ran for office, saying he was going to release the Epstein files, that he was going to lower the costs of healthcare, of taxes, of all of this shit, of groceries, and he has not followed through. He was going to stop wars. He has not followed through on one goddamn thing that he said he was going to do. Yeah. Prop 50 is not about any political party. It is anti-Trump. And I'm genuinely curious how anybody could still support Trump if you thoroughly understood his downfallings and why intellectual, like-minded people chose to vote him into office. It's because they thought he was going to be like how he was last time, maybe a little bit more, and he's nothing like he was last time. He has become a brutal dictator. I do follow Jeffrey Mead. I do agree with a lot of his points, although I'm not sure why he is so negative about some of the points. I don't know that it's a bad thing to want to slide things into bills, in particular, the things that are trying to be slid into what the Democrats want. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing to want to fund news outlets, and that's not being explicitly explained to people. But it is a bad thing to penalize people for not having healthcare, yet people are signing up for healthcare and it's like 3 times the cost. So I'm very confused. Both sides are lying to all of you, are lying to me, and both sides are trying to hide things that are coming in. So I very much appreciate Harry Sisson. I very much appreciate Jeffrey Mead. And I also, the account, I don't know who she is, Unbiased Jordan. I think she's a little biased because we all are, but I think these individuals, for people in their 30s, in their 40s, they're great people to hear about. And they do have, I don't know, they're not using emotional language necessarily, and they're not using propaganda, and they're allowing you to kind of understand what's going on in a genuine fashion without using like the Candace Owens propaganda to get you to emotionally connect to her. And then you kind of lose like your actual intellect and you just follow her along in this story that she calls evidence, which is utter fabrication and fake false news. But I also really like Aaron Parnas, and he does, I think, he gets about 40% of his news from Reuters. The rest are from sources in the White House or in DC or close to people in politics. You know, he's emotional, he's inflamed, he posts many times a day, and he does so on purpose, right? He builds that following, he keeps you, held captive a little bit. I also really like his personality. So, if you're watching all of them and you're trying to take it in together, it's a bit overwhelming, but it's also informative because otherwise you're being utterly manipulated. At the end of the day, the government is shut down. The Epstein files have not been released, and people in America can't eat. And we have people in politics who are supposed to be able to sit down and mediate. I don't know. I know a lot of great divorce mediators that I've used with therapy clients, and maybe we should just be putting them in front of these politicians. Maybe they need literally trained mediators to figure this out. Oh, and maybe they don't need their financial backers to be telling them what to say on both fucking sides. One very disturbing thing I've heard of are the GIMS group. I forget what it stands for. Justice for Innocent Men Scotland, and they're rapists. They're rapists, and they go around and they talk about how it should be okay to rape and you should forgive them and they should just be allowed to do it. So look up GIMS and follow GIMS, because I was surprised when I talked about it that people in Scotland who follow me didn't even know about this group, and the group is growing. They are provocative, they are in the public, and they are traveling with their speeches and their pitches. And again, like I've always said, we have this deep-seated misogyny in this world, well played out in that show Adolescence on Netflix. I thought that was epic. But this misogyny is grabbing our young men at vulnerable ages when they don't think they can get a girl, when they're on these video games, and then they start to talk to guys who are often coached by other guys like Nick Fuentes, who are basically telling these boys that most women only want the top 20% of men and you're not in them. So you have to use aggression. You have to minimize and harm and belittle women in order to feel like you're powerful enough to actually grab their attention and get into that relationship. You have to abuse them. I'm also very concerned about a friend. She's in Iran. She wasn't planning on going, but she had to go because of family things. Yes, her flights were delayed and fucked up because of the government shutdown. I can't even imagine what she's going through right now, being back in her home country, right? It's probably actually wonderful at times, but also terrifying because Iran's not America. And when you leave there for good reason. So I leave you with hopes that tomorrow turns out well, however you want it, because it's about you, because most people are extremely narcissistic and we only really think about the world like 10%. We're really 90% with ourselves. So I just hope you have a good day, whoever you are, wherever you are in the world. I'm really curious how New York's going to go, and I'm really curious how California's going to go. I think Trump's going to have a lot of tantrums, so that'll be fun. Maybe I'll open my Truth Social. Is that what it's called? Truth Social app? I'm not going to use it. So that'll be a lot of fun. He's already been like tweeting, or I don't know these words. I'm 42 and I've given up on learning new things, but I am curious how it is going to go. Check out the accounts I mentioned because I'm sure they're going to be very lively tomorrow. But at the end of the day, take a moment for yourself, sit down, get into bed, get warm, get cozy, turn on court TV and watch how snatched I looked at 4 a.m. and articulate and brilliant. And yes, to all the haters, I am a real fucking doctor and I use big words. If you can't understand them, I know. Just plug them into ChatGPT. I'll catch you tomorrow after Election Day.